Hello, my friend. I'm glad you made it here again. Before we begin, take a slow breath in and let it go. Feel the weight of your shoulders, the quiet between thoughts. This is your small pause, a place where nothing is expected of you. Today's question is this: why do we find it so hard to simply rest, even when we're exhausted? It sounds simple, doesn't it? Rest. You would think that when the body is tired, the mind would agree, that when the world grows too heavy, we would know how to set it down. But so often, when we finally stop, something inside refuses to stop with us. The mind keeps moving, searching for the next task, the next responsibility, the next reason to stay in motion. We lie down, but we don't really rest. Maybe you've noticed it too, that strange unease that creeps in when there's nothing left to do. The guilt that whispers, you should be doing something. The tension that makes even stillness feel uncomfortable. We've learned to live as if exhaustion is normal and rest is indulgent. But where did that lesson come from? Part of it starts early. Many of us grew up in a world that equates worth with productivity. We were praised for achievements, not pauses. Rest was something earned, not something deserved. And so, even as adults, we measure our days in output. We think rest has to be justified, that it's something we get to have once everything is done. But life never runs out of everything. There's always one more message, one more errand, one more thing to fix. Let me tell you a story. A man I once spoke with worked tirelessly at a job he didn't love. 12-hour days, constant deadlines, always reachable by phone. One weekend, his body forced a stop, a mild heart scare. He wasn't seriously ill, but it shook him. The doctors told him to rest, so he went home, sat on his couch, and tried to do nothing. He lasted 20 minutes. Then he started checking his emails again, not because anyone asked him to, but because he couldn't stand the silence. He said it felt like failure, like the moment he stopped moving, he disappeared. That's what happens when our sense of worth becomes tied to our doing. Stillness starts to feel like erasure. But rest, real rest, is not the absence of value. It's the space where value is restored. Nature knows this instinctively. Forests go quiet in winter. Fields lie fallow so that new growth can return in spring. Even the tide pulls back before it rises again. Only humans try to stay in a constant state of harvest, and wonder why we're running dry. Maybe that's part of why rest feels so uncomfortable. It confronts the illusion of control. When you rest, you release your grip on the world. You admit that things can continue without your constant effort. And that's frightening, because busyness is a shield. It keeps us from meeting the quiet truths waiting underneath. There's another story I remember. A woman I met once told me she hadn't taken a true day off in over 2 years. When I asked her why, she said, "If I stop, I'm afraid I'll start feeling everything I've been avoiding." That stayed with me, because for many of us, exhaustion is not only physical, it's emotional armor. We fill our days so we don't have to face what hurts. Rest, in its purest form, requires trust. Trust that the world won't collapse without you. Trust that it's safe to be still. Trust that you deserve gentleness, even when you haven't earned it. Think about how strange it is. We don't apologize for eating when we're hungry, or for sleeping at night, but we do apologize for resting during the day. We call it taking a break, as if it's a deviation from what we're supposed to do. But rest isn't a break from life. It's part of it. Maybe the real question isn't, why can't I rest? But what part of me doesn't feel safe resting? Is it the part that fears being left behind, the one that believes slowing down means losing relevance, or the one that equates effort with love, as if to rest would be to stop caring? There's a quiet story that speaks to this. A craftsman once worked in a small town, making furniture by hand. His work was beautiful, simple, sturdy, full of care, but he was never satisfied. Each piece could always be a little better. He stayed late in his workshop most nights, skipping meals, missing sleep. One evening, his young daughter came to visit him. She watched him sand the same table over and over again and asked, "Papa, why don't you ever rest?" He sighed and said, "Because it's not perfect yet." She thought for a moment and replied, "But I loved it yesterday." He stopped, and for the first time in a long time, he put the tools down, not because the table was done, but because he realized it didn't have to be perfect to be enough. Rest asks us to accept that enough exists, that we, ourselves, are enough, even unpolished, unfinished, undone. When you think about it, the moments that truly restore us are never grand. They're simple, human, quiet. A walk at dusk, the sound of rain, a nap without guilt, talking with someone who doesn't expect you to perform. Those moments don't require permission, they only require presence. But to reach them, we have to unlearn the habits that keep us restless. We have to remember that slowing down isn't wasting time, it's reclaiming it. Because time doesn't expand when we hurry, it expands when we notice. You might try this sometime. Before rushing into your next obligation, pause for 30 seconds. Just breathe. Notice your body, the weight of it, the rhythm of your pulse. Ask quietly, "What do I need right now?" Sometimes the answer will be small. A stretch, a sip of water, a few minutes of sunlight. But those small acts are where rest begins. You don't have to wait for a vacation or a collapse to deserve it. I once knew a nurse who worked night shifts for years. She told me that at the end of her shift, when the hospital grew quiet, she would walk out into the empty parking lot, close her eyes, and let the early morning air touch her face. "That's my rest," she said. "Those 5 minutes remind me I'm still human." It wasn't sleep or escape, it was awareness, her way of remembering she existed beyond her work. Rest doesn't have to mean stopping everything. It means returning to yourself. It means remembering that your worth isn't measured by your pace, that your body's exhaustion is not a weakness, but a signal, one asking you to listen, not push harder. You are not a machine. You are a living being made of rhythm. Inhale and exhale, effort and ease, light and dark, giving and receiving. Without rest, the cycle breaks. And when the cycle breaks, even joy begins to fade. So if you find yourself resisting rest, try not to scold yourself for it. Instead, get curious. Ask what your restlessness is protecting. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's habit, maybe it's just that you've forgotten what real rest feels like. And that's okay. You can remember. It starts small, in the breath you're taking right now. You don't have to earn your rest. You only have to allow it. Because when you finally stop, not just in body, but in spirit, something beautiful happens. The noise fades, the guilt softens, and in its place comes a quiet reminder. You are still here, you've always been here, and that, my friend, is enough. Thank you for being here, for giving yourself this moment to reflect. Stay gentle, stay curious, and stay kind. And if this question spoke to you, continue your journey with us on Yarven's Questions. More stories, more reflections, and more quiet truths are waiting for you. Take care, my friend. Until next time.